Hello again. I'm sure that many viewers have watched with incredulity over the last few years as the idea has taken root that instead of two human genders, there are many, the vast majority of which most of us never even heard of. Before going any further, I must repeat what I have said here several times before, that honestly, I do not care what clothes a man or woman wears, nor what pronouns they wish to use, nor what name they wish to be known by. I am happy to call somebody with a penis Miss if that person wishes me to do so, and I do not in the least mind if this same individual wishes to wear a skirt rather than a pair of trousers. What on earth has it got to do with me what clothes people wear? I'm completely indifferent to the subject. All this, it seems to me, is no more than a matter of common courtesy. If a man introduces himself as James, for instance, I wouldn't take any liberties with the name and start calling him by a diminutive such as Jimmy. In the same way, if a man wishes to be called Mr. White, then that is what I will call him. I wouldn't dream of addressing him as Chalky, as we used to call anybody with the surname White when I was a young man. It follows that if a person of either sex tells me that his or her name is Mary, then that's the name I shall use, the one by which the individual wishes to be known. So far, so good. Here is where things get a bit complicated, though. A teachers' union in Britain, the National Education Union, has been organising lectures at which they urge schools to adopt what they call a gender-free model of education, one which does away altogether with genders, or rather expands the term until it is quite meaningless. In the description to this video I give a link to a news item about this foolish idea. They want to abolish the categories of male and female on application forms for teaching jobs and school places. They advocate asking primary school pupils what their preferred pronouns are, and also say that teachers should be under no obligation to tell parents if their child wishes that he or she changes sex. Frankly, this is to me dangerous lunacy. There are 2 points here. The first is so obvious that I really cannot understand why anybody has not yet pointed it out. What we as adults choose to do, or how we live, as long as it doesn't harm others, is our business. The case is quite different with children. We do not let them buy alcohol in pubs, or get tattoos, or have body piercings, or engage in sexual activity, consent to medical treatment and all sorts of other things. We expect their parents to give permission for those things, and some of those things are completely prohibited. This is because children must be protected, sometimes from their own impulses. Many children would like to live on sugar and cakes, but we don't allow this because it would be harmful, and they're not old enough to know any better and make informed decisions about diet. I really don't see how this principle should change when we talk about sex changes. The second point is also fairly basic. In nature, among higher animals such as mammals, there are two sexes and two genders. Of course, there is odd and atypical behaviour in the animal world with, say, two male animals coupling, that kind of thing. We know that this kind of thing is pretty rare and it's unnatural. For some reason, we think that the case is altered in humans because we are so much more clever than dogs and cats. It is not altered at all. For all our wonderful achievements, we are still animals. And I'm afraid bound by the same basic biology as anything else in the animal kingdom. There are men and women, male and female. Very occasionally there are psychological disturbances or aberrations, and a boy will persuade himself that he is a girl and vice versa. Sometimes this delusion is so strong in adults that rather than treating it, it's easier and kinder to allow the person to go about in the guise of a member of the opposite sex. As I say, I'm fine with that, but that doesn't mean to say that it's not a delusion. It is, in just the same way that some men believe themselves to be cats or parrots, and these cases do crop up. Simply because it is a fashionable delusion does not affect the case in the slightest. Mad ideas can catch on and become crazes. One thinks of the witch craze in medieval Europe. A lot of people at that time believed that they really were witches, and other people took them at their word and treated them as witches, sometimes burning them alive. You would have been hard-pressed at that time to find anybody who dared deny the existence of witches because it was so dangerous to do so. You could end up being prosecuted yourself because, of course, witches are in the Bible, and denying that they were real could be construed as heresy. Today, those who question this current delusion are not likely to be burned at the stake, but they might very well lose their jobs and be shunned by other people. The transsexual idea is comparable to the witch craze which swept Europe. Both are delusions, but because we are in the midst of one, we are as yet unable to see it for what it really is.